Hey, this is Brock Lemires, and in this video, I'm going to start talking about looping structures in C, and specifically, we'll look at the while loop and the do while loop. All right, so we've talked about statements, right? So you type printf or scanf and you do, A equals B plus C. These are all statements that execute one by one. And we've also talked about decision statements where you can selectively execute statements, this statement versus that statements. But what we have never done is put a program into a form that it would repeat statements. So loops are a way to repeat statements either a multiple predetermined number of times, or when a condition is true, or forever. Okay. And so the first looping structure that we look at is called the while loop. And it's a very simple structure. The syntax for it is while, that's the name of it. And what you do is you put a Boolean condition that is then checked. Now remember, Boolean conditions evaluate as true or false. And within the Boolean condition, you can use relational operators, equivalency operators, or combine multiple relational or equality operators using logical operators. But remember that these are all going to return a true or a false. And a while loop will execute continually as long as this expression is true. So you can think about the structure as after the while loop, you do open curly, close curly, and you would repeat statement 1, 2, 3, and then it would come back up or execute 1, 2, 3, and then it would look at the Boolean expression and say, is that true again? And then you say yes, and it would go repeat them 1, 2, 3. Then you'd come up, is it still true? Yes, do it again. It's true, do it again. It's true, do it again. It's true, do it again. And then all of a sudden, if it ever becomes false, then you jump out and you're done. All right. This is an example of a while loop that will never end. So while one, remember, Boolean expressions are true and false, but in C, they're actually numbers. So true means one, or true is a one, and false is a zero, integers, okay? And so if you put while one, this would execute forever. And that's kind of the structure that you'd see on something like a microcontroller that when you turn on your device, it should never stop running. It's going to run forever. So you're going to read from the button, and if somebody pushes it, increase the temperature, and continue doing that forever and ever. All right. This is what it looks like in flowchart form. So you're going to have a decision statement, right? Because you have to check the Boolean expression. And then if it's true, you will do your statements and then repeat. And then when you come back and check again, and then if it's true, do your statements and then repeat. Check your statement, repeat. Check your Boolean expression, repeat, repeat, repeat. And then if the Boolean expression is ever false, you jump out and out you go. Okay. All right. So let's code along here and get a little experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm in my home directory here over on the Linux server. So I'm going to make a directory to code along called mod 06 code along. And then I'm going to change into that directory, and let me go ahead and extend this little fellow over so you can see it not wrap. So I'm going to cd into mod 06, hit tab to autocomplete, and now I'm going to create a new file called while loop. So I'm going to say vim while loops.c. and off I go. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. Now I'm in here, I'm gonna go ahead and get into insert mode. I'm gonna do a little comment header. So playing with while loops. And of course, we're gonna have some printf statements. So let's include the standard IO. So pound include standard IO.h. And then let's set up the shell for our main. So I'm gonna go int main void open curly, come down here, return 0, and then close curly. Go ahead and save it. And now up we go. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create, now I'm like, okay, what's the program? Let's create a while loop that will increment from 0 to 9 and then exit. So I'm going to create a variable called I, and I'm going to create a while loop that says every time through the loop I want to increment I, but I only want to do the loop 10 times. So I want to go through and I want to print I is equal to 0, I is equal to 1, I is equal to 2, up to I is equal to 9, and then jump out. Okay, so we can do that by using a Boolean expression of is I less than 10? And if it is, go ahead and print the value of I and then increment I, and then it will go back and check the Boolean condition. And then if it's still less than 10, it'll do the statements and then check it again and check it again. And each time I is getting bigger and bigger. So I comes in, I is equal to 0, so it's less than 10. That's true. Then it's I is equal to 1, less than 10. True. I is 2, less than 10. True. And then it goes up, 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 up. And at the point at which I is equal to 10, it will say, this Boolean expression is now false. It will jump over, exit the while loop, and you're done. Okay, so here's what we do. I'm gonna go, let's set up our variable I is equal to 0. Okay, so I just set up a 32-bit memory space in my memory and treating the information as a 32-bit signed integer. All right, so I go while, I'm gonna go I is less than 10, open curly, and I'm gonna say, if it is, printf, and I'm just going to say I is equal to, and what I'll do is I'll put a format specifier %d to say treat this as an integer, print it in decimal, and then go ahead and in that place, go ahead and print the value of I. And then once it prints that, I'm going to go I equals I plus 1. I could have done I plus plus, but it doesn't matter. Same thing. All right, that's it. So let's see what happens here. Let's see if my output looks good. So down here, I'm going to change into my Modo 6 directory. And let's go ls. There's my while loops. So there's what I just created. So let me do gcc while loops.c, direct the output to while loops.c. I go ahead and tab it since it's the first time, delete my .c. Okay, what did I get? While loops. Let me do it again with while on now. Make sure there's no warnings. All right, so I'm ready to run this thing. So I do Sunny Holland, meaning // look in this directory that I'm in to look for the executable not in the Linux path. And oh my goodness, look at what happened. I is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Very simple, but very powerful. Okay. All right, another type of looping structure that's similar to the while is called a do while. And the only difference here is that you start the loop with the syntax do, and then you put the Boolean expression checking at the end. The big difference here is that a do while will always execute once. If you go look at a while statement, if you had a while loop, a while will check the Boolean expression first, and it's possible that if it was false, it would never execute. But a do while will, by design, has to execute once because the checking happens after the statements are executed once. And this is a good structure if you're going to prompt a user. So maybe you say, okay, I'm going to have a program that asks the user, hey, enter a value. You know your program's always going to do that at least once, so you want to have it so that there's no chance that the loop would end before you actually do it. Okay, so this syntax is do, open curly, close curly, Boolean checking at the end. All right, so let's do another do while. So I'm actually gonna create a new file here. So let's create one called do loops. So I'm gonna go vim do loops.c, and again, let's go ahead and create a C program. So playing with do while loops. Okay, now let's go ahead. We're using printf, so let's pound include standard io.h, and you get it really fast at the after a while. Int main void open curly, and then come down here, return 0, and then close curly. Go ahead and save that buddy up. And now here's what we're going to do. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to say, all right, here's what I want. I'm going to now create something to increment a variable until the user types Q. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a do while. I'm going to create one variable called I that I'm going to increment each time through. And I'm going to ask the user each time, do you want to quit? So enter Q to quit. If they enter Q, you jump out. If they don't, go ahead and increment the variable, print it, and then you're out of here. Okay. Or you repeat. Okay. So it's going to look like this. If you say, anything else besides Q, it'll repeat. So it's going to do the first thing. It'll print my variable, I is equal to 0. Enter Q to quit. It's going to prompt the user. If they don't hit Q, you go ahead, increment it, run it again, print what's in I, ask them if they want to quit. Then if they don't want to quit, increment it, ask them if they want to quit, and just repeat forever. Okay. So let's take a look at how this would work. So I'm going to go, let's create our two variables. Int I is equal to 0. And then we're going to also do a char, which is going to hold what the user provides us. And we'll just call it quit. Okay. All right. So now I'm sitting here. And now what I'm going to do is this. Here's my do while structure. I say do, and I'm going to open up a curly. and then I'll go ahead and close the curly, and I'll just, over here, I'll put while just as a placeholder, okay? So here's what I'm gonna do. First thing I'm gonna do is print the variable value. So I'm gonna go printf, I'm gonna say I is equal, and then I'm gonna put a format specifier of %d, format specifier. That says I'm gonna print an integer in decimal format. Go ahead and throw a line return on there, and then provide the variable I as what to substitute the value into the %d format specifier. Then I print that. I'm gonna ask the user, hey, you wanna quit? Enter Q to quit. And I'm gonna ask them, okay? Then I'm gonna do a scanf, and I'm gonna say, go ahead and bring that in. Now I'm gonna bring in the information as a character. So I put the format specifier %c to treat it as a character, and I'm gonna stuff it in the address of quit, okay? So then I put that in there, and now what I wanna do is I wanna use an if statement to check, did the user enter quit? Did they enter Q? So you do this, you go if quit is not equal, oh, that wasn't it, not equal to Q, then you're going to do this. I equals I plus 1, and then you end that if. Oops, let me get rid of that. And then you end that. And then now you're sitting there going, all right, now I'm ready to do the checking at the end. So let's come down here and let's do while quit is not equal to Q. Okay, so I got it. And there it is. Okay, so life is good. So I've got print it, prompt the user for quiet. Okay, so there's that. And then you're going to grab it, and then you basically do this. You're only going to increment it if they didn't enter quit. So if they didn't enter quit, you go ahead and just bypass that. And then here what's going to happen is you check it one more time and you say, if it's not equal to that, that will be true and it'll repeat. Okay, so it's basically like if it's not Q, that means true, up and repeat, up and repeat, up and repeat. All right, let's save it. Come down here. Where am I at? I'm in this directory. I'm right there. So then I got GCC my do while. So GCC do while. Okay, hang on here. So where am I at here? Present working directory, ls do loops. So I'm gonna go GCC do loops. I'm gonna direct the output to do loops, and then see if it worked. It looks like it did, so I'll do ls. There's my program, do loops. Let me clear that. Let me do it again with warnings all on. It looks good, and now let's run it. So I'm gonna do this, // look in this current directory, do loops. I is equal 0, enter Q to quit. I'm just gonna hit return. Enter 1. Hit return, hit return, hit return, hit return. And I'm just gonna sit here and do this forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And if I wanna quit, I hit Q and I'm done. And that's the do while. So it's pretty cool. It's just a very simple thing. But anyway, that's just two very basic looping structures in C. Very powerful, but they do use Boolean conditions, and they give us the ability to repeat statements over and over. All right, that is it. Nice job.